Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am sharing with you what is worth the money and what's not when it comes to luxury goods. I have wanted to do an updated version of this video for a while, taking into account the changing landscape of luxury, changing styles, but also really importantly, price increases because they absolutely have an impact on luxury shopping. So hopefully this video will be useful to you if you're just starting out your luxury collection, or even if you do own a few luxury items, but you want to make sure all your bases are covered. So I hope you guys enjoy this and let's get started. So I'm going to be splitting the video into two parts. The first part of the video are items that are worth the splurge, and the second part of the video are items that I don't think are worth the splurge right away. I'm going to be ordering these splurge items in order of priority that I would go for. So I'm imagining myself with a completely blank slate. I don't have any luxury goods, and knowing what I know now, these are the items that I would prioritize getting in that order. When it comes to the items which I don't think are worth the money, these aren't necessarily items which I don't think are ever worth the purchase, but these are certainly the items that I don't think are worth prioritizing, and certainly not above the items that I do think are worth a splurge. So the very first thing that I would always recommend spending your money on if you're starting from scratch is a large everyday bag. And I've tried to take into account a myriad of different lifestyles. Obviously, I only have my own life experience to draw on, but I've gone through many stages of my life, and consistently throughout all those different stages, from being, single in the city to being married in the city to having a kid, a consistent one for me is I always need a large everyday bag. And back in the day, it used to be a really inexpensive one. Now they're usually a little bit more spendy, but whatever the price tag, the form is always the same in that I need a bag that's going to be able to carry a lot of stuff for my day-to-day activities. And again, before it used to be I needed to carry a laptop with me. Now I don't really need to carry a laptop, but I do have a lot of stuff. I usually want to be able to fit some groceries in if I need to. I will usually have something to drop at the post office. Sometimes I'll have Leo's things. Like, there's a whole variety of reasons, but usually I will always need a larger everyday bag in my life. And that is something I would always recommend going for straight away. And I always think it's such a classic mistake going for a really small kind of occasional fancy bag as your first luxury purchase. I understand why people do it, but for me, it's so much more worthwhile to prioritize the items that you use the most in order to get the most bang for your buck. And I talk about bang for your buck a lot, but I think it's so important getting your cost per wear down to really make sure you're getting maximum value out of your luxury goods. So that would always be my first recommendation. Go for an everyday bag, whether that is a hobo or a tote, whatever your preference of style is. And I would definitely say to mirror what you use already. So if your favorite kind of bag is a tote bag, go for a really nice tote bag. If you prefer a hobo, go for that. Whatever you think works for you, that is definitely what I would suggest going for first. The next style I would prioritize getting is a small everyday bag, and this can include a lot of different styles. I have two examples here, but there are just so many different options out there. So this is the Saint Laurent Loulou Puffer in the small size. The classic Loulou in the small size would also be in this category. Similarly, I also have my Loewe puzzle bag in the small size. There are just so many different options, but this size I think is great because it's very, very versatile and can go from day to night. I would say the whole day to night thing is a little bit overdone because realistically the number of times I actually need a bag to go from day to night isn't that many, but I do think it's a useful thing to think about because when you're just starting out your collection, you do want maximum versatility, and something like this in this kind of size can go very nicely to a daytime event, but it can also be used for a date night or meeting up with friends, anything like that, because whilst it is very fancy and lovely, it can also fit a decent amount inside as well. So I don't think that functionality and practicality should ever be overlooked. It is really crucial in making sure a luxury purchase works for you. I do think this size is absolutely fantastic because it is so useful. It's large enough that it can be quite casual, so you can use it just every day going about your business, but at the same time, it's small enough that it can work really nicely for fun casual activities as well, or even a fancier dinner or date night if you wanted to. So it's a really great size, and apart from going for a larger everyday bag, I think this is a really nice, quite logical next step that you're going to get a lot of use out of and really get a lot of money's worth out of as well. They do tend to be a little bit more expensive, but these sizes are the most used ones in my collection, and in my experience can definitely be really, really worth the money. The next style of bag I would go for is a small but special bag, and again this can apply to so many different styles of bag, but a few of my favourites, as you can tell I kind of have a thing for white bags, but a few of my favourites are the Gucci Mini Diana, my latest love which is the Gucci Horsebit, and then I do also have my Lady Dior here as well, but this can also apply to the Tory Burch Eleanor if you wanted something a bit more affordable, the Chanel Classic Flap if you wanted something way more expensive. There are so many different bags in this category, but I'm talking about this kind of size, which is definitely a mini bag, definitely more on the small side, but it's not absolutely tiny. So you're still going to be able to fit in your essentials of, you know, your phone, a small wallet, keys, lipstick, that sort of thing. So it's not going to be absolutely minute, but it's definitely going to be more of a mini bag. So it's going to be perfect for those days that you want to be hands-free. Most of these can be worn cross-body, but similarly, they're dainty enough that if you went to a really fancy event or dinner, you could absolutely carry this and it definitely would not look out of place. Now you may notice I am going a size order, and that is absolutely intentional because for me the number one thing that dictates how much I use a bag is the functionality. If you have a completely different lifestyle to me and you go to parties all the time, you go on date nights all the time, then it may make sense to prioritize a smaller bag first, but that's certainly not my life, nor has it ever really been my life. So for me it definitely made sense to go for the largest bag first, go for a smaller everyday bag, and then go for a special smaller bag as third. But if your lifestyle is completely different, then I would definitely adjust accordingly. The next item I would prioritise are a great pair of heels. Now I would say this only applies if you do actually wear heels. If you don't wear heels, I would skip over this whole category, but if you're a high heel lover like me, then I do think it's worth it to invest in one solid, very neutral pair of pumps, because mine get just so much use and I just don't think that the quality is matched by cheaper versions. There are a lot of items in the luxury world where I do think you can get cheaper versions and you don't really compromise on quality, but I don't think that's true here. And for me, the ones I would always recommend are the Gianvito Rossi pumps. I own them in all different colours and materials and heel heights. By far, my two most favourite ones though are the suede block heel pumps, which are so incredibly comfortable, and they are also very, very stable because of that fantastic block heel. And then my other favourites are a slightly more kind of pinky nude colour. These are in the plain leather with the 85mm heel. So incredibly useful and comfortable. They go with absolutely everything, and I've gotten so much use out of them. So those are my two absolute favourites. I would definitely say go for a neutral colour. If you wear a lot of dark colours, maybe go for a black, but for me I find the lighter neutral is just so much more useful for my wardrobe. Certainly worth the money, and I don't really say this about any other shoes, but if I was starting from scratch, it's definitely something I would prioritise just because of how useful I find them in my wardrobe. The next item I would prioritise is a luxury everyday wallet, and I often find that wallets and SLGs are kind of undervalued because they're not as visible as, for example, a bag, but actually a wallet is something that you use every single day, and if you buy right, then you can definitely get some that are incredibly durable, and they're also a little bit more immune to changing styles as well. So if you buy well, you'll be able to use yours for decades, which is an amazing cost per wear and amazing value in general. So I would definitely say a luxury wallet is worth it to splurge on, especially because you do use it so much. And if you get one that you really love, you're just gonna get that little burst of joy every time you use it and see it, which is absolutely what luxury is about for me. And then the next item I would prioritise is a summer bag, and that can take the form of a little clutch, maybe a little raffia tote, or even a larger summer bag like the Chloe Woody tote, but that is definitely one I think is worthy of consideration. I do think I've changed my mind on this slightly because I always used to recommend staying away from seasonal bags if you are just building up your collection, because you'll get more bang for your buck in general if you have all year round bags. That said, this is the sixth item that I'd prioritise, so I definitely wouldn't say to go for something like this if it's your first style, but if you're getting to your 5th, 6th or 7th luxury item, then I do think you can afford a little bit of seasonality. I do think that a nice summer style has the advantage of, one, these are usually a little bit cheaper, so you'll usually be able to get a really beautiful luxury item for a lot less than, for example, an all leather style. But also I found that the times when I go out the most and take the most photos tend to be during the summer when it's really nice weather, or when I go on holiday. in which case I really do get value for money out of these items. So pick well according to, you know, your lifestyle and your preference, but again, whether that is a smaller bag, a little clutch, or a tote bag. So for me, these styles are often the items that I make the most memories with, so I'm happy to get things which are really fit for purpose if I know I'm going to get the use out of them. And now for my list of items to skip. And I wanted to reiterate that this isn't supposed to be about bad luxury items. I'm a firm believer in buying what you love, especially when it comes to luxury goods. But this is more a list of items that I wouldn't prioritize right away, and I would save for later when I'd already filled the relevant slots in my core luxury collection. So the first item on my list are evening bags and clutches, or anything that you only wear very, very occasionally. And generally speaking, my mantra is the less you wear it, the less you should spend on it. Not just because it's good to get your cost per wear down, but really you just don't want things gathering dust on the shelf when you only are kind of focusing in your money on a few key pieces. You're just going to want to be able to enjoy them all the time. And the truth of the matter is that even the more entry-level clutch bags now are still very, very expensive. You know, you used to be able to get a beautiful clutch for 250, maybe £300, and now even the Saint Laurent Uptown clutch is nearing the £500 mark. So it's still a substantial amount of money, and you can really get beautiful little clutches and little evening bags for not very much money at all. You just don't need to spend a lot. So this is definitely an area where I'd say you can prioritize later. It's just not necessary to spend a lot to get a really beautiful evening bag that will satisfy you now. The next item I would say to avoid are belts, and I'm a huge belt lover, and I have a lot of luxury belts which I love a lot and I actually get a lot of use out of. But I do think this is a category where you can avoid it until later, mainly because whilst I'm a huge believer in a good belt to elevate and lift your outfit, I don't think that the majority of that value comes from it being a luxury belt. I think it comes from being a belt, because a belt is just an additional accessory. It's certainly not something that you need to wear. But I do think that the presence of it can often lift an outfit, but that can be achieved with a non-luxury belt in exactly the same way. Sometimes a logo might add slightly, sometimes it detracts if I'm honest, but I just don't think it's necessary to lift an outfit with a luxury belt. I think you can achieve that exact same effect with a non-luxury belt. And of course there are varying levels of quality. I just got this one in from Reiss, which I absolutely love. It kind of looks like a luxury belt, but it's actually really, really beautiful quality in terms of the clasp and the leather. It certainly wasn't ridiculously cheap, you know, this wasn't from ASOS, but at the same time, it wasn't £500, and I think I'm gonna get a ton of use out of it, and I can use that money for something else I would rather have instead. So whilst I'm a huge believer in belts, I don't think it's necessary to splurge on a luxury one, and if you did want to, I definitely think it's something you can prioritize later. The next area that I'd say you can skip is all other shoes, and as I mentioned earlier, I definitely think a great pair of neutral heels is 100% worth the splurge if you are into your heels, but for every other kind of shoe, I simply don't think it's worth the money to prioritize early on. They can now cost very similar amounts to a lot of luxury bags out there, which is crazy. I just can't get over how expensive luxury shoes are now. And essentially they go on the floor. It's really, really difficult to maintain them and just keep them looking pristine. They're more likely to cause you comfort issues in terms of it not being the right fit or being uncomfortable. And essentially you're just so much better off going for a luxury bag or something that's going to be more versatile across many different outfits. If you find a pair of shoes that you're convinced you're going to wear with absolutely everything, that might be a little bit different, but in my experience, you can often find cheaper versions of those. So certainly building up a luxury shoe collection, you know, I've had a lot of fun building up mine, but I would definitely prioritize doing that later and prioritizing other items instead. And the next item I would skip are smaller trinkets, costume jewelry, that sort of thing, because these items are plentiful. You know, there is a lot of selection out there, but even though they might be on the smaller side, they can still be very, very expensive, and they really can add up very quickly. Luxury houses are very good at making sure they have so many different products to choose from at a variety of different price points, particularly more at the accessible level in order to draw people in, but they can often be a distraction from going for what you really, really want and something that you're ultimately going to get more use out of. So I would definitely say to try and stay focused if you can, because it may be tempting to go for a small, more affordable piece at first, but the larger, more everyday items are probably going to give you more bang for your buck overall. And similar to that, I would say alternative SLGs are another one that I would stay away from. And this is everything from smaller pochettes to randomly shaped coin purses to little earphone cases, cosmetic pouches, anything like that. I would say to press pause on and delay if you can, because essentially I don't think that they provide all that much value in terms of dramatically improving your life or making it easier to get dressed and create a stylish outfit. Like for me, it really makes no difference if my earphones are in a £20 case or in a £200 case. Like it just doesn't make a difference to my day. So even though it's possible to get a little shot of luxury at a more affordable price point, I'm better off putting that money towards something else which is going to provide more value to my life or my wardrobe. And again, that could be a bag, it could be a great pair of shoes, but whatever it is, I often find the smaller things are kind of distractions which really serve as a way of kind of taking away our money and distracting us from the main feature items in our wardrobe. And then the last item I would say you can probably skip is a wallet on a chain. And again, this might be a little bit controversial and this is probably going to depend on your lifestyle, because I do know a few people who love their wallet on chains and use them all the time. I have a few and I do use them sometimes, but I don't use them all the time. And I think if you buy well in the other categories, you don't need a wallet on a chain. And the simple truth is that wallet on chains used to be a really nice affordable thing, and now even those have gotten really crazily expensive with so many brands. So it's not the case that you can get a really kind of luxurious but still affordable one anymore. And for that amount of money, I would always say it's probably more worthwhile to put that money towards something that's a little bit more flexible and versatile in your wardrobe. And if you do spend well in the other categories, I do think it completely eliminates the need for a wallet on chain. So again, dependent on your lifestyle, but I would certainly rather put my money to that still quite expensive wallet chain and put it towards something that I'm going to find a little bit more useful. So that wraps up this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my points in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.
Is that Leo approved? Right. Let's take you somewhere else, shall we?